Trump administration telling the truth can get you fired. Brand new reporting from the Washington Post breaking this afternoon reveals that the director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, has fired the #1 and #2 officials at the National Intelligence Council, weeks after the council published an assessment that all but demolished Team Trump's legal rationale for mass deportations. From that report.
So, just so everybody understands fully and completely, Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, told these people to make a report on Venezuela and their ties to Tren de Aragua so that they could justify this action that the Trump administration has taken for mass deportations. And when they came back with information that contradicted the president because their fact-finding mission did not find the facts that justified the emergency action, they were fired for doing the exact thing that they were told to do. Jerry Johnson, I will respond to anything that you want to talk about religion later, but I'm going to get through this video first.
Report, quote, Gabbard removed Michael Collins, the acting chair of the National Intelligence Council, as well as his deputy, Maria Langdon-Rykoff. That's according to a spokesperson for Gabbard's office. The firings took place 1 week after the Office of the Director of National Intelligence released a partially declassified intelligence assessment dated April 7th and produced by the National Intelligence Council. That assessment found that the Venezuelan government is most likely not directing the activities of the gang known as Tren de Aragua or facilitating its operations in the U.S. A reminder, this assessment said this, quote, while Venezuela's permissive environment.
So to further explain, the executive order was, or the emergency action is based off of the, what is the name of the, is it the Alien Sedition Acts? Yeah, so the Alien Sedition Acts. So they are applying those because they're saying that Tren de Aragua are invading the United States because they are working with the Venezuelan government to destabilize the United States and some national security, yada, 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 yada. Or is it the Alien Enemy Act? Whatever it is. They're using this, but there's no link between Tren de Aragua and the Maduro regime. There's no clear link. They can't prove that this emergency is real. And notice that they didn't talk about this emergency before they were in office. In other words, we're not being invaded by a foreign government, therefore the AEA can't be used. Yes. Which is why these people got fired, because they told the truth.
Enables TDA, Tren de Aragua, to operate. The Maduro regime probably does not have a policy of cooperating with TDA and is not directing TDA movement to and operations in the U.S. Statements like that are very inconvenient for the Trump administration. In invoking the Alien Enemies Act on March 15th, the Trump administration said in an executive order this, quote, TDA is undertaking hostile actions and conducting irregular warfare against the territory of the U.S., both directly and at the direction, clandestine or otherwise, of the Maduro regime in Venezuela. That was the entire justification for using the Alien Enemies Act in the first place. The Alien Enemies Act was used only 3 times in American history, and the Trump administration is using it to deport migrants without any semblance of due process.
So this is essentially going to destroy the, it's going to destroy the mass deportations because they're going to pull up something that the government themselves put together as a defense for, ending the emergency. It's dead in the water. They're going to have to find some other avenue. Unless they just decide to blatantly defy the courts once again. And I guess we just live in a dictatorship then.
Given to them and then sending them to a notorious prison in El Salvador.
Tren de Aragua is already in the U.S. That's why they did that specific law being used. That is an invasion, sort of speak. So Tren de Aragua is already in the United States, but they're not working with the Venezuelan government. But we're going to lie about them working with the Venezuelan government to say that they're invading the United States, because this is a game that's already in the United States. And if we say that they're invading the United, you realize that you just justified them lying, Spaniard. You realize that you just justified them lying.
With their justification for using the AEA, Alien Enemies Act, blown to smithereens by their own government, the Trump administration...
They aren't working for them? Then where does this game come from, brother? Spaniard. I'm going to take a 2-second pause for a second. I'm going to take 2 seconds. Can you think of any other criminal organization in the history of humankind that came about without the help of a government organization? I'll let you stew on that. I'll let you chew on that one for a second. If you can think of a single, I know this is going to be really hard to come up with a single example of a criminal organization that was able to spring forth without the help of a nation state.
Instead of backing down on the deportations, has instead started a crackdown on the fact finders and the truth tellers in their own intelligence community. The New York Times reported last week that in the wake of its own reporting on an initial assessment back in February, quote, the Justice Department opened a criminal investigation and portrayed the reporting as misleading and harmful. The administration doubled.
1 second.
The New York Times reported last week that in the wake of its own reporting on an initial assessment back in February, quote, the Justice Department opened a criminal investigation and portrayed the reporting as misleading and harmful. The administration doubled down a month later after similar coverage in the Washington Post, citing the disclosures in both articles as a reason to relax limits on leak investigations.
All right. Mods, if they're doing the stupid stacking letter thing, you can ban them. That shit's annoying as... There we go.
Now, the firing of the number 1 and number 2 officials at the National Intelligence Council sends an unmistakable message. The ranking member of the House Intel Committee, Congressman Jim Himes, tells the Washington Post this, quote, absent evidence to justify the firings, the workforce can only conclude that their jobs are contingent on producing analysis that is aligned with the president's agenda, rather than truthful and apolitical, end quote. It's where we start today with some of our favorite reporters and friends. Washington Post national investigative reporter Carol Leonnig is here. Also joining us is former CIA director, now MSNBC senior national security analyst John Brennan. Director Brennan, I'm actually going to start with you because I believe you know these officials. Let me just tell our viewers a little bit about the folks who have been fired, purged from the federal government. Collins.
Jesus loves Donnie, and that's all that matters. This is why I hate you people.
Spent 3 decades in the intelligence community, has served as chief of staff for the CIA's deputy director, starting his career as an analyst focused on East Asia. Langen Reichhoff has also served more than 30 years, has more than 30 years experience in the intelligence community, including as an expert on the Middle East. The ODNI previously listed her as an exceptional analyst. She also previously served as director of the Strategic Futures Group at the National Intelligence Council. Seasoned, apolitical, proven, trusted intelligence officials fired today by Tulsi Gabbard. Director Brennan.
And again, like the thing that is so important to realize, people who work in the intelligence community, look, people hate the intelligence communities. People hate the IRS and they hate the intelligence communities. Both sides of the aisle do. At the end of the day, the people in the IRS and the people in the intelligence agencies, generally, they're good people. They're just like normal people. I've met people who work, like they take the subway, right? You see them like wearing lanyards and shit. Like you see these people and they're human beings. they want the best for the country. They're going to do what's best for the country. They're going to give the information that is the most accurate for the country. They're not going to lie to the director of national intelligence because they just don't like Trump that much. They're not going to do that. But we're firing people for doing what they were asked to do because the information that they get doesn't match the rhetoric of the president. That's insane. Because the government is full of corrupt, inept, weenie hut juniors that don't want the best. Well, I don't think that this government does. No. I don't think that MAGA does. No. I think that in general, by and large, probably 85% of people who work in government probably do like this country and probably do want the best for this country. They might not all be perfect statesmen. Some of them might not be fanatical, but a lot of them are there for, they have the qualifications and they have the qualifications and they want to work somewhere cool, like the, NSA or the CIA or something like that. And so they go and work there and they get a paycheck. But for some reason, and I don't know why this is, people look at people who work in the government as demonic, subhuman freaks that are just there to kill people and rape babies. And it's just not true. And I'm tired of living in the same society as people that lose their mind, completely think in a conspiratorial way that there's a cabal of baby rapist eaters in DC. There's so many real problems in the world. Shut the up, I don't want to hear it, then leave Unipon Cube or jump into a call with me. Jump into the voice channel and tell me what I'm saying that's so wrong and evil. Tell me why the Department of Education is evil. Tell me why these things are evil and not just things that you disagree with.
Yeah, this whole thing just makes me livid. It's appalling and outrageous and demonstrates why Tulsi Gabbard never should have been.
The CIA said, actually, I don't believe that it was the CIA that said that there were weapons of mass destruction. Wasn't there a massive letter from all of the intelligence agencies saying that they didn't trust the information that was coming out of the special commission produced by the report produced by the special commission from the Bush White House? Now, I was actually in elementary school when all of that was going down, so I could be wildly off base there, but that's my understanding based off of a lot of stuff that I've heard since.
Been confirmed as Director of National Intelligence. Michael Collins and Marie Langen-Rykoff are two of the most experienced, accomplished, and talented analysts in the entire U.S. intelligence community. With over 60 years of combined experience, they have worked for successive administrations since the 1990s. They have demonstrated time and time again their capabilities, their competence, their integrity, and they have served as role models for a generation of intelligence officers inside of CIA. They're CIA officers by background and by training. And this is going to have real reverberations within the workforce because it's
going to be chilling on speech is the thing. The other thing that you guys don't understand is this isn't just oh, well, they're fine. Okay, maybe this is bad. Okay, yeah, but they're putting out stuff that's counter to what the president said. Okay, yeah, but what big deal? It's just the CIA. What about the next time that they ask agents to put together findings on some other issue facing the United States? And what if they don't find what the administration is expecting them to find? Are they going to do the right thing and present the correct findings that they've neutrally found to the administration and risk getting fired? Or are they going to maybe fudge the numbers and present different information to the administration? Now, let me tell you something. The reason why this is so scary is because this is what they do in places like Russia, when they are too scared to give the people in power information that's counter to what they want to hear. Now you're in a dictatorship. Now you're in authoritarianism. And when you start making decisions based off of faulty information, then you're. And that's what we're heading towards right now because of the people in chat like you guys who are incapable of criticizing Trump. Comparable to Chernobyl? Yeah, it's that sort of thing where everybody has been like, there's so many issues that are ignored because they're built off of the assumption of lies, and all of the fixes aren't actual fixes until it comes to a critical point and it explodes. We can't operate like this.
Congressman Hines pointed out, it's clearly a signal to tell analysts throughout the intelligence community, you tell the truth, you provide objective analysis as you're supposed to be doing, you are running the risk of getting fired. And
wait 1 second. Trump would be against Chernobyl? Wow. You know what? You know what? I don't doubt that Trump would be against the largest nuclear plant disaster in European history. I have no doubt that he's against that. What a brave take. You know what? I'll give him one for that. Okay. I'll give him one for that. He would be against Chernobyl.
Michael and Maria are really the quintessential analysts that you want to have providing insight and information and analysis to policymakers so they make the right decisions for U.S. policymakers. But this is a very tangible example of such dangerous and insidious corruption within the Trump administration. They are now manipulating the instruments of government that are used to keep this country safe. And again, the sacking of these two individuals.
And the thing that is so important in that sets our government above all other governments, in my eyes. The thing that sets our government above all other governments is the level of transparency that we have. It is very difficult. I know conservatives are going, yeah, I already see BS. I know conservatives are going to cry BS and shit like that in chat. When was the last time our government was able to lie about economic indicators? When was the last time? No, that doesn't happen because there's a million different agencies. There's a million different non-governmental groups that track all of these different metrics that they would call the government on it immediately, and they can't. And the government can't tell them not to do that because it would abridge their First Amendment rights to do. Transparency, he's fit as sharp as ever. You guys say, oh, well, they're not transparent because you guys don't have access to the JFK files or the Epstein files. And you guys think that that's what transparency is. But transparency is knowing who is, like, when our elections are going to be had, that they're going to happen consistently, what our economic policies are going to be, what our economic numbers are, what our actions on the world stage are going to be. When we're transparent, when everybody knows what we're going to do, we get our way because we're too big to stop. But because you guys don't recognize how big of a dick we swing in the neighborhood, you guys have little dick syndrome. And you guys think that because we don't have the Epstein files and because we don't have the JFK files and because we don't, because MS-13 or not MS-13, what's the other, the LSD one, COINTELPRO and shit like that happened. Because of these things, the United States is ultimately corrupt, ultimately evil, because there's like some things around the edges that, like, granted, I want to see the Epstein files released, like, because at this point, what the is in them that they're trying so hard to hide? Do I care about the JFK files being released? No, not really. Like, release them. I don't care. But for some reason, y'all have taken those things being classified and transposed that to the entirety of government being opaque. When in reality, you can look up any stat about government you want to look up, you can look it up right now. Any economic measure that you want to look up, you can look it up right now. And the government won't be able to lie to you about it because there's going to be a million different watchdogs for every single one of these agencies that have a vested interest in every single one of the reports that they put out. That's why they put the reports out in the first place. And those people check those reports and they see, hey, is this bullshit or not? Every single agency that you can imagine. Government has ever lied to me? Did I say that the government has never lied? You guys are you guys have very sharp ears. Because that's exactly what, the government has never lied. That's exactly what I said. No, I said the government is about as transparent as it needs to be. And when they lie, and they get caught in lies, like in Iraq, it's really big. It's a really big deal. Because it's really hard to lie to the American public and get away with it.
They're very competent and capable officers who have been revered by a generation of intelligence.
Hey, did you guys know that this is the guy that hasn't released the Epstein files? Just by the way, just so you guys know, this is your boy.
Analysts within the agency and across the community because of their accomplishments. This again sends a very clear and chilling signal to others that this is a new day, and if you're going to carry